Figures 12.22 through 26, when constructors and destructors in a class hierarchy are called. In this example, we're going to once again use the commission employee, base plus commission employee hierarchy. However, we've, for pedagogic reasons, added destructors to our classes. You can see the commission employee destructor here in the header file for class commission employee, and similarly one for the base plus commission employee class as well. And in both the cases of the constructor and the destructor for both of these classes, so here's class commission employees implementation, you can see that we are outputting some information when these things get called. So for the commission employee constructor, it's going to do its work, and then when it's just about finished, it's going to print out that the commission employee constructor was called. It's going to call the print member function of class commission employee to output the data for the commission employee, and then it's going to output a couple of new line characters. In the case of the destructor, we'll say that the destructor got called for that class. We will print out the data of the commission employee so we know which one is being destructed, and then we will output a couple of new lines. And remember, when the destructor gets called, it's before the memory for the object is deallocated. Normally, this is where we would deallocate any dynamic memory or other resources that we had allocated to an object of our class. In this example, we're using output from the constructor and destructor just for pedagogic purposes to show you when things happen. Here's the base plus commission employees implementations of their constructor, of the constructor and destructor. And again, after the base plus commission employee does all the initialization, it's going to print out in the constructor which class's constructor got called, the data for the object of the class, and a couple of new lines. And similarly for the destructor, which destructor got called, the data for the object being destroyed, and a couple of new line characters. So let's go ahead and take a look at the main program, and I'm going to run the program so that we can compare the code to the output in this example and understand what's going on. So we'll take a look at this output as we go. And let's start with the first lines inside of main here, where we can see that we are going to first set up our floating point numeric formatting. And then we start a local scope within main because I want to show you a constructor and destructor call for one object. So remember, when you create an object inside of a given scope, when you reach the end of that scope, the object gets destroyed. So the commission employee called employee 1 for Bob Lewis with these initial values. If I stop at the end of this chunk of code, what's going to happen here is first we're going to construct the object, and as soon as we reach line 23, we're going to destroy the object. So if we stop there, you can see these first two chunks of output where we constructed Bob Lewis and then where the destructor for Bob Lewis got called. So again, the order of construction and destruction is when you enter a given block, any local variables within that block are constructed in the order that they're declared, and when you leave that block, they're destroyed in the order in which in the reverse order, from which they were constructed. So after that, we go and we create a couple of base plus commission employee objects. We have the one for Lisa Jones and the one for Mark Sands, and each of them has different data, as you can see here. Now, as I work my way through main here, I'm going to get the constructor calls for Lisa Jones first. Now, when you create a base plus commission employee object, first, what happens is the memory for the object, in this case called employee 2, is going to get allocated. Then the constructor for class base plus commission employee will get called. That constructor in turn will first call the commission employee class's constructor to initialize what was inherited from class commission employee into class base plus commission employee. Then when that's done, we'll call set base salary and output the information saying that the base plus commission employee constructor got called. Now remember, at line 15, we're calling the commission employee constructor. So we're also going to see the output from that constructor as well. So let's go back to main and take a look at what happens when we execute lines 26 and 27. And if you take a look at the next two chunks of output here, you can see all of the information for class for the object Lisa Jones. So we see that the constructor for class commission employee was called, Lisa Jones, with all of this data. Notice there's no base salary listed here because the commission employee doesn't know, the commission employee constructor rather, doesn't know anything about the base salary. Once the commission employee constructor finishes executing and finishes initializing the 5 pieces of data from that class, the base plus commission employee constructor continues by initializing the base salary and then outputting the fact that the base plus commission employee constructor was called, printing all the data, and here you see the base salary for that commission employee. Base plus commission employee, excuse me. Then, of course, in main, we created the Mark Sands base plus commission employee. So once again, we get a commission employee constructor and a base plus commission employee constructor for Mark Sands as well. So every new base plus commission employee object we create actually results in two constructor calls, one for the base plus commission employee class and one for its base class commission employee. Then we hit the end of main. When we execute return 0, main is terminating, and now these objects of type base plus commission employee are going to go out of scope, and they're going to be destroyed in the reverse order from which they were created. So if we continue looking at the output, we can see that the first object being destroyed is Mark Sands, and that the base plus commission employee destructor for Mark Sands gets called first. Then the base class commission employee constructor destructor for Mark Sands gets called next. So here was the constructor order when we were looking at the object being created. Notice it's the reverse of the destructor order when the object is being destroyed. Also notice that the last object we created is the first object being destroyed. And then finally, Lisa Jones is being destroyed. Again, base plus commission employee destructor executes first, then the commission employee destructor. So in effect, when you're building up an object and its constructors are being called, you're kind of building it from the inside out. So if you think of layers of an onion, the base class is in the center. The parts of the base class that were inherited are in the center. The derived class's stuff is wrapped around that, and the next derived class in the hierarchy is wrapped around that, etc. And then when you're destroying, you peel off those layers and you do the outside in until you get back to the center.